If you've ever written a line of C or C++, you've almost certainly used malloc. It's one of the first things you learn. But have you ever really stopped and wondered what's happening under the hood? What is that function actually doing?
You ask for a kilobyte of memory. Does that mean the system literally goes and finds a physical chip of RAM and carves out a piece just for you? It seems like it should, right? But is that really how it works?
And what about the operating system? Is the Linux kernel getting a phone call every single time we ask for even like 4 bytes? That seems kind of inefficient, doesn't it?
That's the big mystery we're going to unravel today. We're going to follow a single malloc call on its wild ride, from the C code you write all the way down into the depths of the Linux kernel, and then all the way back up.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll start by tackling the central mystery of malloc, this idea of an illusion of memory. Then we'll peek inside the C library, see what it does, and watch what happens when it has to knock on the kernel's door. We'll get to the most critical part, the page fault moment, and then wrap it all up with a new mental model you can use from now on. Let's get into it.
All right. First things first, we have to completely tear down a huge misconception about memory. The way you probably think memory allocation works, it's all built on a really clever and incredibly efficient illusion. Okay, get ready for this, because this is the single most important thing you need to understand. Malloc does not, I repeat, does not allocate physical memory. When you call it, you aren't getting a chunk of RAM. You're getting a promise. What you're actually allocating is virtual address space. Think of it like an IOU. The system gives you a piece of paper that says, I promise there will be a room here for you the moment you try to open the door. But the room itself hasn't been built yet.
So where does our journey start? You just typed malloc in your code. Where's the first stop? Well, it's probably not where you think. It doesn't go to the kernel, not yet. It stays right inside your program's little world.
You see this line? This isn't a special direct line to the operating system. It's not a system call. It's just a regular old library function from the standard C library, glibc. It runs completely in what's called user space, which is like your program's own private playground, totally separate from the kernel. And this is where things get really clever. glibc is like a super efficient warehouse manager for memory. Before it ever bothers the kernel, it looks at its own notes. It keeps these lists of memory chunks that your program used before but has since freed. If it can find a piece that's the right size, it just gives it back to you. And because of this, most of the time, the vast majority of the time, your malloc call is handled right there, instantly, with zero overhead from the operating system. But, okay, what happens when the warehouse is bare? When glibc checks its lists and nothing. It's got no memory left to give you. That is when it finally has to reach out and make a formal request to the Linux kernel. And it's smart about how it asks. It doesn't just scream, "Give me memory." It has 2 different strategies depending on how much you're asking for. For smaller requests, usually under about 128 kilobytes, it uses a system call called brick. For bigger stuff, it uses a different one called mmap. Let's look at both. So for smaller chunks, it uses something called break. Now, break is all about managing the heap. Just think of the heap as this big, continuous plot of land your program owns. The job of break is super simple. It just moves the fence at the end of the property further out. It expands the territory.
So the kernel gets this break call, and it's like, okay, got it. It updates its master map to show that your program's land is now bigger. But, and this is crucial, look at that last point. We've talked to the kernel, it did some work, but we still haven't been given any actual physical RAM. The kernel just approved the zoning change. The land is marked, but nothing has been built on it yet.
Okay, but what about those really big requests? For that, glibc pulls out a different tool, mmap. Instead of just expanding the main property, mmap asks the kernel for a whole new separate plot of land somewhere else. This is great for big allocations, because when you're done with it, you can give that whole plot back to the OS super easily.
And when the kernel gets an mmap call, it creates what's called a virtual memory area, or VMA. It just adds a new entry to its big map of your program's memory. But, and you probably know what's coming, guess what hasn't happened yet? Yep, still no physical RAM. Just another promise. Okay, so let's recap. So far, this has all been paperwork. We have a pointer, we have a promise from the kernel, but we have zero actual memory. So, when does the rubber finally meet the road? When does this virtual promise become a physical reality? It happens the instant you try to use it. It's this line right here. This is the moment everything changes. It's not the malloc call that matters. It's the first time you try to write to that memory. The moment your program tries to run this line, the CPU has to figure out where in physical RAM to put that number 42, and that's when it hits a snag.
So the CPU goes to follow your instruction, it looks up the virtual address in its little address book, and it goes, whoa, hang on a second. This address is valid, but there's no physical memory attached to it. It can't go any further. So it throws up a flag, a special signal to the kernel called a page fault. Now, fault sounds like a bad thing, like an error, but it's not. It's a totally normal, essential part of how modern operating systems work. It's the CPU telling the kernel, hey, that IOU you wrote, it's time to pay up.
This whole dance is just genius. Your program gets paused for a tiny fraction of a second. The CPU hands the problem over to the Linux kernel. The kernel says, oh right, that promise. It finally goes and grabs a real page of physical RAM, updates the CPU's address book to connect your virtual address to this new physical page, and then hands control back to your program. Your program just retries the instruction, and this time it works perfectly, as if nothing ever happened.
Whew, okay, we have seen all the moving parts. Let's put this all together into a new mental model that actually makes sense, from top to bottom.
So let's walk through the whole thing from start to finish. 1. Your program calls malloc. 2. glibc tries to find you some recycled memory. If it can't, 3. It calls the kernel with break or mmap. 4. The kernel reserves virtual address space. That's the promise. Then, 5. The very first time you try to write to that memory, it triggers a page fault. And finally, 6. The kernel catches that fault and allocates a real page of physical RAM, just in time.
And that's it. That's the big takeaway. Malloc doesn't actually give you memory. It gives you a promise of memory. It's an illusion. And the kernel is the magician that only makes that illusion real at the very last second, right when you reach out and touch it. It's a system of lazy allocation, and it's what makes every